video, we're going to go over the problems that are in the Unit 4 test review. So let's go ahead and add 5x cubed minus 2x squared plus 7 plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 3. So when I add polynomials together, I like to write out my first polynomial. So we have 5x cubed minus 2x squared. And I want to make sure I don't have any skipped terms. Notice there's no x term in this polynomial, so I'm just going to add in a 0x as a placeholder, so just so I can keep all my terms in order. And then finally, I have a plus 7. Now I'm going to rewrite the second polynomial right under this one, but I'm going to make sure that I put my polynomial in a way that all my like terms line up. So I'm going to put this 3x squared right here, right under this minus 2x squared, and then I have plus 4x and then plus 3. Now I just go ahead and add these two polynomials together. So since there's no x cubed term in the second one, if you want to, you can add in a 0x cubed here just as a placeholder. Remember, whenever we have any skipped or missing terms, we can add in a 0 as a placeholder. So 5x cubed plus 0x cubed gives me 5x cubed. Minus 2x squared plus 3x squared is 1x squared, so that's just x squared. 0x plus 4x is just going to give me 4x. And then 7 plus 3 is going to give me 10. So 5x cubed plus x squared plus 4x plus 10 is my answer. Now let's subtract these two polynomials. So remember, when we subtract, what we do is we keep the first polynomial as it is, so 5x squared plus 4x minus 6, switch to addition, and then we're going to go ahead and distribute that minus. So that basically means every term in the second polynomial is going to switch to having the opposite sign. So we have negative 3x squared, then plus 2x, and minus 4. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and now write the first polynomial, 5x squared plus 4x minus 6, and then write the second polynomial and making sure that all the like terms are lining up. So now let's go ahead and combine these terms. So 5x squared minus 3x squared is 2x squared. 4x plus 2x is 6x. Minus 6 minus 4 is minus 10. So our final answer is 2x squared plus 6x minus 10. So in this problem, it wants us to divide x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3 by x plus 2. Remember, I need this to be in x minus r form, so I can rewrite this as x minus negative 2, which means my r value is going to be negative 2. Okay, so this is going to be important if we're using synthetic division. Remember, another thing is I don't want to have any skipped terms. So if I look at this right here, I have x cubed minus 2x squared, but I have no x terms, so I'm just going to add in a 0x and then keep that plus 3. Okay, so remember, when I use synthetic division, that negative 2 goes in the box right here, and then I write out the coefficients of my dividend. So I have 1 because that's the coefficient of x cubed. I have minus 2, and then I have my 0, and then 3. Okay, so remember, my first step is to bring down 1. So I have 1, then I do 1 times negative 2, which is negative 2. Negative 2 plus negative 2 gives me negative 4. And then I do negative 4 times negative 2, which is positive 8. 0 plus 8 gives me 8, and then I do 8 times negative 2, which is negative 16. Now I add 3 and negative 16, which gives me negative 13, and that's going to be my remainder. So this original polynomial was a third degree, right? So remember, whenever I do synthetic division, it goes down 1 degree. So that means the highest degree term here is going to be an x squared, and this is an x term, and then that's my constant term. So I can write this as x squared, right? If you want, you can write 1x squared minus 4x, and then we have plus 8. And remember, my remainder, I write that as minus 13, and then I put that over that x plus 2 that I was dividing by. Okay, so this is how you write the quotient. It's x squared minus 4x plus 8 minus 13 over x plus 2. So here it says that given x equals negative 4 is a root of f of x equals x cubed minus 4x squared minus 17x plus 60, what binomials are factors of f of x? So if x equals negative 4 is a root, we can go ahead and write that negative 4 in this box up here and use synthetic division to figure out the other factors. So we're going to write out the coefficients of this polynomial. So there are 1, negative 4, negative 17, and 60. So we go ahead and start off by bringing down 1. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus negative 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 times negative 4 is positive 32. Negative 17 plus 32 is 15. So we have 15 times negative 4, which is negative 60. And when we add these together, we get a remainder of 0. So remember, we go down 1 degree whenever we do synthetic division. So this is now going to become x squared, and that's going to become x. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 15. Since this is a quadratic trinomial, we know how to factor it. We just need two factors of 15 that are going to add up to negative 8. Since 15 is positive, our factors will have the same signs. Since 8 is negative, that means the same sign will be negative, right? Because we need two negatives to add to a negative and multiply to a positive. So the factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. And if we make all of them negative, the correct combination that adds up to -8 is -3 and -5. So we can write this in factored form as x minus 3 times x minus 5. But remember, we also have one more factor because given x equals -4 as a root, that means that x minus r is also going to be a factor. So that means we have x minus -4. That minus negative will become a plus, so that's going to be x plus 4. So the three factors of this polynomial f of x are x plus 4 that we get from that root, and then that x minus 3, and then x minus 5 that we found by factoring. So here it says which statement is true about the polynomial function f of x equals x cubed plus 4x squared minus 11x minus 30. So if we look at the answer choices, you can see here what it wants us to do is figure out when it's going to have a remainder of 0 when it's divided by one of these binomials. So what we can do here is use synthetic division, and we'll have to do it to see which one is going to give us a remainder of 0. Remember, the main thing about synthetic division is we need our whatever we're dividing by to be an x minus r form so that we find the value of r correctly. So this x plus 1, it's going to be basically like x minus -1, which means that our r is going to be -1. So when we do synthetic division, we're going to put the -1 in the box, and then we're going to write out the coefficients of f of x. So the coefficients are 1, 4, -11, and -30. So we just start off by bringing down 1. 1 times -1 is -1. 4 plus -1 is 3. 3 times -1 is -3. -11 plus -3 is -14. -14 times -1 is going to be +14. So that gives us a remainder. We have -30 plus 14, so that's going to be -16. So A is not the correct answer. X plus 6, we need to write it in x minus r form. So we have x minus -6. So r is going to be -6. Let's try synthetic division again. So we have 1, 4, -11, -30. So bring down 1. 1 times -6 is -6. 4 plus -6 is -2. -2 times -6 is +12. 12 plus -11 is 1. 1 times -6 is -6. -30 plus -6 is -36. So B is not the correct answer because we have a remainder. X minus 4, that's already an x minus r form, right? So it's x minus 4, so that means our r is going to be 4. So let's do synthetic division. So we have 1, 4, -11, -30. So we have 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus -11 is 21. 21 times 4 is 84. And then we do -30 plus 84, so we have 54. That has a remainder, so C doesn't work. Let's now finally try D. So in x minus r form, that means that r equals 3. So we have 3 in the box. And then we have 1, 4, -11, -30. So we bring down 1. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. -11 plus 21 is going to be 10. 10 times 3 is 30. And that actually gives us a remainder of 0. So that means D is the correct answer. So basically, you want to make sure you identify the values of R correctly from all these factors. And then you just go ahead and do synthetic division until you find where you have a remainder of 0. So here it says one of the zeros of the polynomial function is 2. What is the fully factored form of the function f of x? So once again, we're going to use synthetic division to help us factor. So I just filled in all those coefficients. So if the 0 is 2, that means 2 goes in the box. And then we have our coefficients are 1, -1, -14, and 24. So I'm going to use synthetic division here. I bring down 1. 2 times 1 is 2. -1 plus 2 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Once again, -14 plus 2 is -12. -12 times 2 is -24. So we have a remainder of 0. So this is now going to go down 1 degree. So this was degree 3. So it goes down to 2. So this is going to be x squared plus x minus 12. So now we need to factor this. We need to find two factors of -12 that are going to add up to 1. So 12 is negative, so we need a positive and a negative factor. 1 is positive, so I'm going to make the bigger factor positive once I list out all the factors of 12. And I'm going to make the smaller factor negative. So we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Make the bigger factor positive, a smaller factor is all negative. The correct combination that gives me 1 is -3 and 4. So this is going to factor to x minus 3 times x plus 4. We also have another factor because one of the zeros is 2. So that means that r equals 2. And if we write that in x minus r form, we have x minus 2 as another factor. So that means f of x in fully factored form is x minus 2 times x minus 3 times x plus 4. So remember if you write out your factors, remember that since multiplication, we can write it in a different order. Your factors may be listed in a different order when you look at the answer choices. Remember, that's okay because multiplication is commutative. Okay, so here it says given x plus 2 is a factor of f of x equals x cubed minus 7x squared plus 2x plus 40, what other binomials are also factors of f of x? So here we have x plus 2 as a factor. So remember that means that we need to find the value of r. So if we write this in x minus r form, we basically have x minus negative 2, right? Because the minus negative becomes the positive. So that means r equals negative 2. So I'm going to use synthetic division to turn this into a degree 2. The coefficient of x cubed is 1. So I have 1, negative 7, 2, and 40. So I go ahead and start off with bringing down 1. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Negative 7 plus negative 2 is negative 9. Negative 9 times negative 2 is positive 18. 2 plus 18 is 20. 20 times negative 2 is negative 40. So the remainder is 0. Remember, this goes down to a quadratic when I do synthetic division. So I have x squared minus 9x plus 20, which I need to now factor. I need two factors of 20 that are going to add up to negative 9. Since 20 is positive, I need two factors that have the same sign. Since 9 is negative, I'm going to make my factors all negative. So I have 1 and 20, and then I have 2 and 10, and then 4 and 5. If I make my factors all negative, you can see the correct combination is negative 4 and negative 5. So I have x minus 4 times x minus 5. So that means these two binomials are the other factors of f of x. So here it says, how would you set up synthetic division to divide 3x cubed plus 8x squared minus 13x minus 30 by x plus 3? So the only thing we need to do is set up the synthetic division. Remember, this needs to be in x minus r form. So this is basically going to be x minus negative 3. So I'm going to put that negative 3 in the box in the upper left-hand corner, and then I just write out the coefficients of this polynomial. So we would have 3, 8, negative 13, and negative 30. And remember, the way we do synthetic division is we bring down 3, and then we do negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9. 8 and negative 9 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3. Negative 13 plus 3 gives us negative 10. And then negative 10 times negative 3 gives us positive 30, which means we have a remainder of 0. So that's how you would set up the synthetic division for this problem. So here it says to find the product of 8a minus 5 times a squared plus 5a minus 7. This is a binomial times a trinomial, so we have to use the distributive property. So first I'm going to multiply everything by 8a. So I'm going to do 8a times a squared plus 5a minus 7. And so that's going to give me, when I distribute everything, I have 8a times a squared, so 8a cubed, plus 8a times 5a, which is 40a squared, and then minus 8a times 7, which is 56a. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by negative 5. So I have negative 5 times a squared plus 5a minus 7. So negative 5 times a squared is going to be negative 5a squared. Negative 5 times 5a is going to be minus 25a. Negative 5 times negative 7 is going to become plus 35. So I'm going to go ahead and add up all these terms. So since I have some missing terms, you can add in the 0 for a cubed if you want here. And if you want, you can add in a 0 since there's no constant. When I add these together, I get 8a cubed. 40a squared minus 5a squared gives me 35a squared. Minus 56 minus 25. I'm going to go ahead and add that together. That's going to give me negative 81a. And then I have plus 35. And so 8a cubed plus 35a squared minus 81a plus 35 is my final answer. In this problem, it asks us to factor 512p cubed minus 27. So let's go ahead and factor this. So I hope you notice that this is two perfect cubes that are being subtracted. So we can call this a cubed and we can call this b cubed. So if a cubed equals 512p cubed, that means that a equals the cube root of 512p cubed. So that means that a equals, well, the cube root of 512 is 8. And the cube root of p cubed is p, so a equals 8p. And then if we say b cubed equals 27, and then if we take the cube root of both sides, we know that b is equal to 3. So remember, we have that SOAP mnemonic that helps us remember this factoring pattern. It tells us that if we have a cubed minus b cubed, that's equal to a minus b, right? Because we have the same sign here. And then we have times a squared, and then we have opposite signs, so plus ab, and then plus b squared, right? Because the last term is always positive. So we just now plug in a and b that we found into this formula here. So we have 8p minus 3 times, and then a squared, so 8p squared, plus a times b, so 8p times 3 plus 3 squared. So that means we have 8p minus 3 times 8p squared is 64p squared, plus 8p times 3 is 24p, and then we have plus 9. So this is the fully factored form of this expression, 8p minus 3 times 64p squared plus 24p plus 9.